Hello, folks. So today we're talking a little bit about depression and what is depression, how does it feel on the inside, and how we can think about it to manage it and deal with it in a way that could serve you. So first of all, what is depression? Depression is a chemical imbalance in the body. I'm not a doctor, so I don't know the whole kind of chemical mechanics of it. And for me, I don't need to know. Um, why I do mention that it is a chemical imbalance is that one, it's a real thing. It's not, oh, you're just feeling bad or whatever. It's super, super hard to be depressed. And second, because it's a chemical imbalance in the body, it is something that we can influence, whether through medication or through specific meditation. It includes breathing and different exercises that help balance out the chemistry in the body for a better mood. So those things are available too. Now, what is depression? From my experience, I've experienced minor depression in my life several times. And how I experienced it, there isn't like a specific difference between like normal life and depression. It's just that doing normal things takes so much more energy. It's 3 or 5 times harder to get out of bed, to do toiletry, to cook food for yourself, to do groceries. It's just so much harder. And you're just getting like a negative thoughts influx, and fighting them off takes so much mental energy that you just end up being exhausted mentally and physically and emotionally. So, in that sense, that's why depression is difficult and heavy, because you just have to fight with so much more during the day on a regular basis than when you're not depressed. A couple of tips. One thing is like there's a mental health kind of branch or current in psychology that is forwarded by Scott Peck, who was this American psychiatrist who maybe wrote in like the 70s or 80s. And he wrote this book called The Road Less Traveled. And with there, he talks about how all the mental health diseases or conditions are actually the soul or our psyche, our system, bringing them up, creating them for us so that we can overcome something and change or transform in a way that, like the old way, the old system is no longer serving us. So we are being pushed to get to the next level that is ultimately serving us better, serving our soul's purpose better. This is also the approach of the transpersonal psychology, which is a branch of psychology that came up maybe in the 90s and very much popular in the 2000s and 2010s, also through the psychedelic movement, where the idea is that any mental health crisis or crisis of like soul well-being of one's person or inner crisis is actually a window for transformation, right? So in that sense, the fact that something big and strong and heavy is happening or coming into our consciousness is so that we can have the opportunity and the strength to show our courage that we can go to that next level that is ultimately more aligned with our purpose. So that's one way to look at it, to find like a sliver of hope and maybe a window into how this can be an experience that ultimately at one point you will be grateful for. Of course, I'm not saying be grateful for your depression, because that fucking sucks and is insensitive, because I've experienced depression firsthand, and it's just horrible how much like backpedaling you have to do. And then another thing that I want to mention, that something that's worked for me really well, is psilocybin. So psilocybin is the active compound of the psychedelic mushrooms of different kinds. It is illegal in most countries of the world, but it is legal to purchase truffles in the Netherlands, and you can actually also ship them throughout European Union. So that's one way to have a legal access to psilocybin. And psilocybin in minor doses is super helpful for managing and relieving symptoms of depression. There's a cool book that kind of summarizes all this and latest neuroscientific research on it. It's called You Can Change Your Mind by Michael Pollan. And there he does an overview of the neuroscientific research of the last decade, specifically about depression, and talks about how researchers have found that people who have depression often have a very strong default mode network. So this is a network inside the brain that scientists have discovered that exists, or it's how they theorize about the brain. Because we used to theorize before about the brain having like different parts, but like different physical areas are in charge of certain different things. But the new theory is that these places are actually networks. So it's a lot more kind of granular, more complex approach to how the brain works that we still don't understand actually. And the way they say is that the default mode network is the network that is in charge of our identity. So anything that is very strongly ingrained, entrenched in our brain as reality, as being the way it is, like any kind of like I am, like my nationality, my gender, my name, anything like the world is this way, people are this way, anything of that sort is the default mode network is in charge of that. So it's like a network that we fall back onto when for the lack of more presence or more kind of moment to moment awareness and curiosity. And that the stronger that network is, the stronger it is in me that I say I am, I don't know, Serbian or I am transgender, the stronger the kind of breeding ground or the stronger foundation possible for depression. So basically, when people believe that the world is a certain way or people are a certain way or they are a certain way, then they're more prone to having depression. So then it could be that depression is an invitation to shake up those rigid understandings of what is and cannot be in any other way, and then to see something beyond that. Specifically related to psilocybin, if you've seen a very cool visual that's been going around since 2016, since this research was published, it's this idea that when the brain is functioning normally, let's say now, for example, I'm talking to you and filming a video and whatever, so part of my brain here is functioning and a little bit here and a little bit here. So this is how it would show up on a CT scan if I did one now. But on psilocybin, if you have a brain scan of the brain on psilocybin, it will show like everything is lit up, like all these connections are being made together. So this is why psilocybin wakes up for a limited amount of time these connections. And when they're woken up, the new connections are made. And these new connections actually like create a little bit of competition, or almost they start to compete with the default mode network. They start to compete with these like channels of the network in the brain that run all the time like highways and are ingrained in how the brain functions. So because of that, because psilocybin actually makes it possible in terms of brain chemistry for us to think new thoughts, to see things or situations from a different perspective, or to create new ideas or new ways of looking at things. This is why essentially psilocybin can help with depression. I microdose psilocybin, so I use a very small amount that is a sub-perceptual dose. So I will take an amount that I will not feel during the day. So it will be as if I had a chamomile tea, right? So chamomile tea doesn't have a big effect that I perceive on me. So during the day, I'll be able to function, I'll be able to do my work, I'll be able to do groceries or go outside and so on. And my perception won't be like changed to the fact that I'm not able to function. So that's what's called a microdose. Of course, a dose can be like a medium dose, or it can also be a full dose. And those are definitely for a different specific purpose. That is a topic for another time, and also that requires a lot of mental preparation and planning. So that's about it. I hope these thoughts on depression help you. I designed this little video to really just give you maybe some hope or some potential avenues to explore on how you can, better manage and deal with depression. Thank you so much for listening, and bye for now.